RBJs, how are you guys doing? You know, it's been a while actually. It's been longer than I had predicted, I've got to be honest with you. I actually thought, a week or so ago that I'd be getting a few more of these out every day, every 2 or 3 days I'd be uploading one of these casts, but I've had a few problems with real life. I've had quite a lot going on. I've had problems with video editing software. I've had problems with all sorts of things, but it doesn't really matter because right now I'm actually going to be doing some more casts, okay? I'm not going to make any promises about how quickly I'm going to get these out here. We're just going to have to see how it goes. But anyway, I'm just going to get it started, because we've got to just get on with it really, haven't we? So let's click ahead and go into the game here. So, we've got a game today by 2 players, Crewfinity and Manonmars. We've got a bit of a different matchup. Grey Knights versus IG. Quite a contentious matchup, to be honest, and I must admit, when I first started playing this matchup, I thought, it's fairly well balanced, to be fair. I know when everyone as a community started experiencing the matchup for the first time, everyone was like, oh my god, this is impossible for Grey Knights. Sentinels that just cannot be killed. That was back in the day, and Grey Knights were a lot less effective then, because IST were a lot more pricey. Nowadays, that's probably not the case anymore. You can get out a lot of Inquisitorial Stormtroopers really early, and it helps with the Sentinels, and double Sentinel builds generally aren't even as effective versus Grey Knights anymore. However, the other thing was the Strike Squad are heavy infantry just like Tactical Marines, and back in the day they had really shitty range damage, but now these days they actually got their range damage buffed, and they're pretty strong now. So the matchup has changed quite a lot, and as you can see here, the cheaper IST are nice, because there's already 2 generators down. He's got 3 IST out, and he's forced off the Sentinel. I do think the Strike Squad is still very... Oh my goodness, 8 HP on the Sentinel already. That's pretty clutch. And the Brother Captain obviously has spotted that and was trying to kill it, but... And he's even running into base to try and kill the Sentinel, oh my god. That is desperate. But yeah, I think the Strike Squad would have been a good choice from Crewfinity. Obviously he's wanting to get as much firepower out as possible and drop generators as fast as possible. But that means he doesn't have the Strike Squad. And the problem with the IST is that because they're only light infantry with 500 health each, they're going to bleed you a damn lot. So yeah, Strike Squad personally I think would have been better, even if it delayed this purgation. I mean, why does he need the purgation now? I mean, they're good against the Guardsman, but they're not really very good against the Commissar Lord or the Sentinel. Commissar Lord, I've noticed, has been running around with his shield activated at half capacity for a long time. You should deactivate that if he's not in combat and he doesn't have full energy. You should actually have it activated if you've got full energy though, because it's far more efficient to use to lose the energy before you lose your health, because your health only regens at 1 per second, whereas you also get 1 energy per second, but 1 energy on the shield is worth 2.5 health, so it's just more efficient. Anyway, let's look at more of what's actually happening in this game specifically, rather than the greater scheme of things. So the Brother Captain's going to go over here and deal with the Guardsman. There's a 2 model Stormtrooper squad which really needs to get out of there. Quite fortunate not to lose more models there, as a couple of those last pistol shots seem to miss. At the same time, Manonmars doesn't have much of an army to defend against this Purgation squad, so they've actually done good in spite of what I was saying about probably being better off delaying them in order to get a Strike Squad instead of IST. That was a very nice stomp. Brutal stomp into the heavy weapons team suppression. Quite a classic combo. And I'm not sure... Personally, I'd be sending the Brother Captain off over to kill these guardsmen and get him some free XP, basically. I think that's better than just allowing one another to cap. That essentially makes them equal in value. In reality, the Brother Captain is far more useful than guardsmen. But in general, sending your Brother Captain over to this side of the map and constantly controlling it, look, that's a nice node, seeing the Brother Captain going down there and noding the power. Having him control one side of the map is a good strategy because on his own, the Brother Captain can defeat pretty much any other squad on their own. So, and this is especially true for IG, which classically are known for having problems with regards to fighting with only their own squad, with only a single squad in one area. So in order for the Imperial Guard squads to be really effective, they need to blob up. But then, are you going to send 3 things to go kill the Brother Captain? You know, 2 guardsmen and a sentinel. That's not really efficient, is it? So, just having him capping this side, while you send the rest of your army down here and here, because you don't want to send your Brother Captain down here. Firstly, there's only 2 points down here to defend, and secondly, there's garrisons which the Brother Captain cannot adequately deal with. And the other thing is, you want your main army always floating around the centre, so that you can transition up here for flanks if you need to wipe something, but also because then if you get the opportunity, you can just go straight up and burn the gens. That's especially true when you've got a squad like Purgation, which can destroy the gens very quickly. And we see the power of the super heavy infantry Rhino here. I mean, it's just sat there. And I mean, if this was a heavy infantry Rhino, it would have died a long time ago. Are there 2 squads in there at the moment? You should have put the IST... No, there were only 1 squad in there, the Purgation, so that was a mistake by Crewfinity. He didn't put the IST in the Rhino, instead he retreated them. If he put them in the Rhino, he would have not lost his IST there. I mean, just look at how little damage this Rhino is actually taking from the Sentinel. Even on rear armour, each little burst is only doing like 4 DPS. It's just pitiful, really. It's a terribly overpowered unit at the moment. It should go down here, though, to be fair, if the Sentinel keeps chasing. It was a bit slow there. It was a little bit too slow, now the IST have got it to repair. Commissar Lord could probably do with getting the Power Sword now that he's started Tech 2. A good tactic in general in 1v1 is go Tech 2 as soon as possible without getting war gear upgrades or upgrades on your squads. Well, you know, realistically, as soon as is realistically possible. So he didn't need the Power Sword, so he's gone Tier 2 before getting the Power Sword. And then what you do is you buy those supplementary upgrades, such as war gear on your hero, that isn't necessary to your composition but is useful. Or, for example, sergeants on your guardsmen, or stomp on your sentinel, or demo man on your catachans. And this works for any race as well, like big shooter knobs on your shooters, aspects on your Dire Avengers. You get them while you're in the process of going Tier 2. And this has a double effect, because firstly, it really maximises the speed at which you can get to Tier 2. Secondly, you start getting these upgrades. Your enemy can see, oh, he's got this upgrade, now he's got more shooters, oh, he's upgrading his Dire Avengers still. And they can think that you're still in Tier 1 because you're purchasing upgrades. But in reality, you're purchasing them while you're going Tier 2. So that can be quite a nice thing to do. And it also creates a really good timing push once you then get Tier 2, because you can then get the Tier 2 upgrades afterwards and you've got a really well upgraded army. As we can see though, in this game, he isn't getting the Power Sword, which I would have recommended him to get while taking Tier 2. However, he does seem to be prioritising Ogrons. I'm not sure about the choice to get Ogrons against Grey Knights. The Brother Captain will be quite a nuisance. I mean, the Brother Captain is always quite a nuisance, but he'll be especially a nuisance for the Ogrons. That said, right now there is not much that can counter them. A Las Rhino isn't going to do much, and maybe that's why he didn't go for the Chimera. He already knows there's a Rhino out on Purgation, so that's some pretty decent supplementary AV right off the bat you've got there. But still, there's a problem with the Ogrons, and that is that they cost a damn lot. They cost well over 100 power if you're going to get the Bonehead, which realistically you need to get. And this means he doesn't really have anything to deal with this Brother Captain, which is inevitably getting the halberd now. Again, you've got more building usage on this side of the map. It is quite annoying how there's these buildings here, but you know, it's a feature that adds to the map. But Crewfinity has been quite behind on map control, and I think that's just basically because he's lost that third ISC. Needed that quite badly. Look at the gigantic amount of damage that halberd takes off. However, we do see Bionic Eye on the Ogrons. I mean, this is a ridiculously powerful ability. It's quite hard to overstate how good this is. Sure, you lose an Ogron model, which is very expensive, but the things end up moving at over 10 speed when they're using their ability, Use Your Head as well. I think they move at 11 speed, and they're doing, I think it's 35 damage for each normal model. The Bonehead does even more, I think he does about 50, and you're going to double that. So you end up with well over 200 heavy melee damage on a squad that's moving at speed 11, which can't be suppressed, can't be knocked over. And the Bionic Eye itself heals all the other remaining models. It's very powerful, and as you can see, it wiped out that Rhino there. And there wasn't really much that the Grey Knights could do to stop that, to be honest. If he had a strike squad, he could have used the energy burst to slow them down, and that's another advantage of the strike squad. And obviously that's nice for the Commissar as well, because it also drains his energy, which is good for getting rid of that shield. But we do see them getting in a bit of a gem bash now, and that's quite useful. Let's have a look at the resources. Most of the map is in control of Manonmars here, so he has got better requisition income, despite having a far greater army. And we do see purifiers, and I think that's, well, I was going to say that's a good choice, and it's very good against Ogrons. However, the main problem really is the Commissar. However, we see that the Commissar has stubbornness and is going for the Power Claw. I think that's a mistake. I don't think stubbornness is that bad, but when I see these purifiers, I'm going to want to ensure that my Ogrons can beat the purifiers in a head-on fight. And if you look at their health, they're fairly similar. 1,625 versus 1,500. However, the power melee of the purifiers will mean they beat the Ogrons in a straight up fight. Although I'm not actually sure, because the Ogrons will have use their head as well. It looks like the Guardsmen, yeah, that's not good. Trying to decap that wreck point and becoming a bit too overburdened in micro, and he also lost his heavy weapons team over here, probably due to the brother captain. That's not looking good at all. But what I was saying is he probably wants the Aura of Discipline, because that thing heals Ogrons about 400 HP every burst, if they're on their own, just the Ogrons and the Commissar Lord. And 400 XP, when that's 25% of the Ogrons HP, every little burst of heal. It's an amazing little war gear to synergize with Ogrons. On the other hand though, he also probably wanted the Power Sword. You know, that gives you constant knockback through special attacks, and it buffs their damage even further, because it's just like Battle Cry. So he hasn't gone for that, he's gone for Stubbornness and the Power Claw. This troubles me, because if the Brother Captain and the Purifiers are together, they're going to wipe the floor with the Ogrons and the Lord Commissar. And I mean, this is looking bad. Hopefully he doesn't lose this Sentinel here, because that would be very dire. He currently has... He actually has the same unit count, but ultimately his units just... They're not as good. Like, I mean, the Ogrons are in... What? How did that even die? What the hell? He seemed to swing his sword here. It must... But it didn't seem like there was a delayed react... I don't know. Normally that happens when a unit... The sync kills or something interferes with an attack, but in that case he just seemed to kill it from a mile away. Well, that's pretty bad now, because these Guardsmen, fresh Guardsmen, fresh off the boat, they're not doing much at all. I mean, these Purifiers with their extra melee charge range as well makes them pretty deadly. Might want to use Mind Blades on them here to secure this win, and he has used Mind Blades. But there's the knockback. Oh, this is brutal. Oh my god. Oh wow. They're so lucky that one of them got out of there alive. I'm surprised nothing died. 17 HP, that's terrifying. And this is nice, actually. This is very nice. So, so Crewfinity is seen. Oh my goodness! I just dropped my psychic attack right on my feet, yet I still lost to those Ogrons. Obviously, that's because he had the Guardsman support, but he's wanting more anti-melee to deal with those Ogrons, so he's going for a Terminator Librarian. That seems like a fairly good idea, in my opinion. However, the problem is Manonmars has presumably predicted that, and that's why he's gone for a vehicle. So the Las Rhino went down to those Bionic Eye Ogrons, and that Las Rhino was the main reason why, realistically, Manonmars didn't want to get a Chimera. But now we can, because the only AV on the field is the heavy melee of the Justicar of the Purifiers, who is, well, he's coming now, he wasn't there a minute ago, and the Purgation Squad, who are, let's say, quite immobile. I mean, sure, they don't need to set up, or at least their setup is very short, but they're a slow squad, and their range is not superb, and they don't snare, so they're not going to realistically kill a Chimera. Let's see how well these Purifiers do. The extra melee charge they get could make them quite handy for chasing down the Chimera, though, to be honest. Because I always go for Khorne Chaos Space Marines, or at least I do very often go for KCSM versus IG, precisely for this reason. The only difference with KCSM is that they have much better ranged weapons for dealing with transports, with the Melter Pistol and the Plasma Guns. We're seeing some really nice Stormtrooper uses actually here. Chucking in grenades at the Ogrons, shooting off Plasma Overcharge strikes. And I mean, look at the state of this. They have actually chased the Chimera all the way from over here, all the way around the side of the map. This is not a spot they want to be in, though. Now, overcommitting there. You see, the problem is, I just realised as well, the Terminator Librarian is going to be very vulnerable to the flak jacket of the Lord Commissar. But the problem in that engagement was he was fighting the Purifiers against the Ogrons, but he didn't have any Brother Captain support. He had the Terminator Librarian, but he wasn't in there with Might of the Titan to give them the melee skill advantage. And there were double fully upgraded Plasma Guardsmen shooting at his Purifiers. And there was a Commissar clawing at his Purifiers. So it was not wise to take that fight. Once he realised that the Chimera was not going down, he should have backed out of there and waited for his own Plasma range support to come back him up. Let's see what's going on now. What the players are probably thinking. I imagine that Crewfinity is going to try and go to tier 3, or he might get a Dreadnought. It's a little bit awkward going for the Dreadnought though, because he still lacks the AV to kill this Chimera, and the Grey Knight Dreadnought no longer, unfortunately, is very potent at AV. When it had the Melter gun, it was pretty ridiculous. You know, that's a really good AV tool. But the Heavy Bolter, not very good. The Claws, not very good for catching a Chimera. And the Plasma Cannon is pretty good, I must admit, but it's certainly not a Tzeentch Dreadnought. So he could go for a Dreadnought. I mean, Manonmars himself doesn't have much AV. He only has melee AV versus a melee Dreadnought. That ain't doing shit. And that's what he's going for. But my worry is that Manonmars is going to tech up now and get a Lehman Russ out, and then it's going to be very difficult for Crewfinity to do anything. The Vindicare Assassin would be handy versus Lehman Russes, but he's fighting against a Lord Commissar who can always get the flak jacket. Or even just Bionic Eye Ogrons, to be honest. Those things moving at a Vindicare Assassin at speed 11, that Vindy isn't going to last very long at all. Or he could just get the flak jacket and execute the Vindicare and the Terminator Librarian while he's at it. So, you know, I'm not liking this situation for Crewfinity personally. We see that Manonmars is going tier 3, and we see that Crewfinity is going for a Dreadnought. But I feel that this is an inferior position for Crewfinity. The Lehman Russ is probably what we're going to see in tier 3. I would hope so, because Kassakin, they're nice and they're going to bleed the Grey Knights a lot. However, they don't quite have the AV potential of a Lehman Russ, and he needs AV now due to this Dreadnought, and he lost an IST as well. This is looking quite bad for Crewfinity at the moment. I don't think the Dreadnought choice was the best choice, although I have to admit, I think as soon as he lost those Purifiers, he was definitely on the back foot. But I would just be too wary personally of the Lehman Russ at this moment. After losing those Purifiers, I would have just tried to get tech free, get out some Paladins. Still, a Lehman Russ could die to the Vindicare Assassin and a Dreadnought, and possibly... This is crazy, the Dreadnought's dying from Ogrons and the Lord Commissar. But the Lord Commissar's just healing due to stubbornness from all the Guardsmen, and then the Ogrons are reinforcing from the Chimera. I thought the Brother Captain might have been able to kill the Ogrons there. That'd have been brilliant if he could, but it doesn't seem like he can. Now he looks like he's gonna die. Ouch. That's not good. And now he's got this Terminator Librarian, which doesn't really have anything. You know, what's his purpose? Like, he could shroud the Purgation or the Vindicare Assassin that he may get in the future. That'd be nice. But right now he doesn't have a Vindicare Assassin. And, well, the Purgation alone ain't doing anything to kill the Ogrons, and that's the biggest problem at the moment. I mean, though luckily for him, Manonmars is lacking in power, so the Lehman Russ isn't out just yet, and I actually imagine that's because he's been bleeding a lot of Ogron models. Ogron models cost 15 power to reinforce each. They're very, very power intensive, and I believe they're 25 for the Bonehead now as well. Used to be 30. The Ogron bleed is definitely keeping Crewfinity in this game right now, and he should actually prioritise that. He should try and bleed as many Ogron models as possible, although that's going to get really, really tough soon, because they're already level 3 with 2,270 HP on 4 models. Still, we see the Lehman Russ coming now, and it's countered by the Vindicare Assassin. Preemptively countered. I mean, he does need more AV anyway to deal with this Chimera. But if I was Crewfinity, I wouldn't have gone for the... Well, he got the Terminator Librarian after the Purifiers. But yeah, I just wouldn't have replaced... Once I lost the Purifiers, I wouldn't have gone for Dreadnought. I'd have tried to go for tier 3. That's all I can really say about that. So we see he's lost another IST. Oh yeah, that's a thing now. I completely forgot. Oh wow, the Vindicare Assassin rear armor takes out the Chimera. But I was going to say, a new feature in the last patch, I think it was, or maybe the patch beforehand, was the Ogrons can now get in Chimeras. A beautiful Hell Fury strike over there. Oh, if he can get an Emperor's Fist off here, he can really... Nice, nice. He killed the Sergeant on the Commissar, on the Guardsman squad. And he got a lot of models. More Ogron bleed. That's good. That will help him keep staying in this game. But the problem that I see now is that he has no IST. He just lost his IST in that engagement. So now he can't repair this Dreadnought, and he's gone and got another Dreadnought, but he can't repair that either. Shrouding on the Vindicare Assassin, this is nice. If he can, he might be able to kill this now, thanks to that shrouding. The Lehman Russ hasn't seen the Vindicare, and he's gonna get another shot off. Oh my god, what the hell? 7 HP. He should be able to kill it. He should be able to kill it. Oh, a very nice flare. That might actually save him. Oh, wow. They trade. They make a trade. The Lehman Russ goes down. And I've done it again and left that up there. God damn it. The Lehman Russ goes down. But the Vindicare goes down. But there's another Dreadnought. So this actually is quite good. I don't even know how the hell that happened. I mean, it was a bit poor by Manonmars, to be honest, to be sending out the Lehman Russ so desperately after the Dreadnought. I mean, He didn't really need to do that. Should be using Sanctuary. Yes, so he can get that cap. I don't know why that Ogron is not getting knocked over. What's going on? Does it not knock them over if they're already in it? I thought it knocked them out. I don't know. Oh god, the Terminator Librarian goes down as well. This is not good at all. There's been a map control problem for quite a lot of this game for Crewfinity. But he's always seemed to have less squads, and then the other problem was the Chimera was giving them so much staying power because they didn't have enough AV. And that is, again, a result of losing those Purifiers. I don't think up to those Purifiers, I think the game was going quite well for him. But losing them was a really, really big blow. Because that lost him AV potential against the Chimera. And it was a very big investment that he made. An investment that then synergized with his other investment into the Terminator Librarian. And it went and completely gone. And that just turned the tide of the game. I'm not even sure what just knocked over that Ogron model. I mean, this is just adding salt to the wounds, really. Rocket running a Purgation squad. I mean, it's a bit overkill, really. But I guess... I don't know, both of these players are extremely low on squads right now. Crewfinity is making the right decision by getting an IST squad out. It's cheap and cheerful. He just needs a capping unit. At the same time, I agree with Manonmars' purchase of a Lehman Russ. That's pretty damn good, because really, Crewfinity doesn't have any AV to deal with a tank right now. So this is looking pretty bad for Crewfinity, even though he's going to have a 2-0 cap in the VPs, although not for long, because these guardsmen are going to catch this point. The Ogrons are going down over here to defend this area, because they're the best unit that Manonmars has at the moment in terms of being able to solo stuff. And the double guardsmen will transition over to support the Lehman, which will be very tough to crack. But in all honesty, I think Crewfinity's problem here was not being able to get to tier 3. I am of the opinion that, especially against the Commissar due to his flak jacket, you really do need to be tier 3 if the IG is tier 3. You can try and end the game early if they try and go to tier 3 by staying tier 2 and just pressuring victory points, pressuring his farm and so on. But if he manages to get away with it and get a Lehman Russ out, you need to be tier 3 or you're just going to lose, because you get yourself in this situation. You have to rely on Las Rhinos, which die very quickly in vehicle form to the Lehman Russes, or die very quickly to Plasma Guardsmen in super heavy infantry form, and the Vindicator Assassin to deal with tanks, and that doesn't work versus the Commissar. It's too good against them. We see that Manonmars hasn't even moved over his other Guardsman squad, which is a mistake, I think. Ogrons can pretty much solo anything. I don't think there's much use having the Guardsman squad over there as well. Oh my god, is this another rocket run? Wow, he had a lot of red stockpiled. To be fair though, we haven't seen him use many flares, so that's the thing. But again, he's been very brave moving these Lehman Russes out like this, when he knows there's a Vindicator Assassin lurking about the place. Again, he uses the flare to save his tank from the Vindicator Assassin. But yeah, Crewfinity's run out of VPs. That was actually quite an interesting game, I've got to admit. It's always an interesting matchup, is this Grey Knights versus Imperial Guard. It's interesting because in Tier 1 it's quite unique with the way that Grey Knights are designed. Most factions deal with IG best by getting suppression. And the Purgation is pretty nice against IG. I mean, it melts those Guardsman squads and it melts those Kadashan squads, but it just does nothing against the Sentinels, and they're the key problem in the matchup for the Grey Knights. Yet, now that IST are a bit cheaper, it's not actually that hard to kill Sentinels in Tier 1 in my opinion. You just got to use your We Are the Hammer correctly so you get your speed buffs and can just overwhelm the enemy squads and just catch up to that speed 8 Sentinel. I think they're speed 8. But in Tier 3 it changes because you get this scenario in which... Well, let's go to Tier 2 first. You see, in Tier 2, your IST all of a sudden are not that effective because they just bleed too much compared to the Guardsmen, and their burst damage isn't quite significant enough to dent anything other than the Sentinel, realistically. So you start bleeding, and you can't really fight firefights head-on with the IG anymore, and the result of this is that you get this scenario where the Grey Knights are stuck in Tier 2, and the IG is in Tier 3. And then when the IG is in Tier 3, if they get a Lehman, you're screwed because you have nothing to kill the Lehman with. And tanks have always been a problem for Grey Knights, but Lehmans are a big problem. Other tanks you can actually handle quite well with the Las Rhino and the Vindicator Assassin combo. But the problem with the Lehmans is that the damage resistance on them makes it so that the Vindicator just isn't sufficient AV to kill them. And the other thing is that your Las Rhino can't run around in its super heavy infantry form killing everything because Plasma Guardsmen just kill them in a very short period of time. So what can the Grey Knight do in this instance? Well, I actually think the Purifier's choice in this instance was a good one. I think the Commissar, though, in hindsight, is probably the best of the heroes against Grey Knights. And I'm just thinking that because you've got the Power Sword in Tier 1 bleeding all your models, you've got his Las Pistol which bleeds all the Stormtrooper models in Tier 1, and then come Tier 2 you've got basically invincible Ogrons who are going to slaughter your Purifiers, if he played it properly. I don't agree with how Manonmars played this here. He didn't support his Ogrons very well at all. There was no Aura of Discipline. There was no, there was only a couple of Bionic Eyes, and there was a good Bionic Eye play to get rid of the Las Rhino, and that was nice. I appreciate seeing that, but that was only the one I only saw, actually. I don't recall any others. There may have been others, but they weren't brilliant. And there was no Power Sword. That said, Crewfinity failed to support his Purifiers well. He could have got the Warding Staff if he was going for Purifiers, although I do believe he got the Halberd purchase before he decided to get Purifiers, although I may be wrong. He should think a bit further ahead with the purchase of his Wargears. Am I going to get Purifiers? In which case, hold on, I might not actually want to get the Halberd here. Making your melee squads immune to knockback, which is what the staff can do with its ward ability, it changes melee fights tremendously. Just utterly tremendously. And the fact that it gives a 30% damage reduction buff as well is, you know, your Purifiers are going to beat those Ogrons, right? So both of the heroes could have done a lot more to ensure that their elite tier 2 melee squads were going to dominate the other one. But I think there were a couple of things which made Crewfinity lose this match. Now, losing the IST at various points in the game obviously hurt him, but that wasn't totally game breaking. They're not crucial to your composition. Just like our Manonmars lost his Guardsman several times. Look, he only has a level 1 Guardsman here at the end of the game. It's not crucial, it's not game changing. If he lost his Ogrons, that would have been game changing. If he lost his Lehmans earlier, it would have been game changing. But he didn't. What was game changing for Crewfinity was the loss of the Purifiers and the loss of the Las Rhino. And I honestly think that both the Las Rhino and the Purifiers were good choices, as I've already said. But losing them was what I think led to Crewfinity losing this game. He did eventually lose his Vindicator, he lost his Terminator Librarian. I mean, there were a lot of losses here. But to be honest, against a competent Lord Commissar, I'd be expecting to lose my Vindicator Assassin and my Librarian. And I mean, that's what makes this matchup so hard. Without Flak Jacket, you can't use your sub-commanders, and without your sub-commanders, it's so challenging to beat the IG Tier 3. But you can't get to Tier 3 in order to beat it yourself, because to beat those Lehman Russes, you get Paladins, and then it's easy. But you can't get Paladins, because you just get bled in Tier 2. So I am actually, I don't know, I feel like this is actually quite a hard matchup for Grey Knights. Yet at the same time, I think Tier 1 is the point in which Grey Knights need to win this matchup. Purgation absolutely shred Guardsmen, they shred Cadishans, they shred Gem Farms. A Strike Squad and Triple IST, yeah, they shred Sentinels. You've got your Brother Captain to counter heavy weapons teams. You've got grenade launchers possibly in your IST. I would go for a heavier tier 1, definitely incorporate some strike squads. Make sure that you prolong tier 1 as long as possible as the Grey Knights in this matchup, because that's where the IG are weak, and you don't want to fight them in tier 2, you want to fight them in tier 1. So you want to go for triple IST, Purgation and a strike squad, and probably Blessed Aegis on your Brother Captain, so that you can really deal with heavy weapons teams, and therefore you can get your Purgation over to their farm, burn it down, prolong tier 1. Come tier 2, you can get a Las Rhino to counter a Chimera. If they go for Ogrons, you can get Purifiers to counter them. Purifiers are a nice purchase because they're also good against Guardsmen due to their extra melee charge, and the Chimera likewise. Then this gives you the opportunity to either tech straight up and get your Paladins out to preemptively counter any Lehman Russes, or if you're doing really well because of your long tier 1 and you've got a nice VP lead, you can just get a Vindicare Assassin out, and I don't know what else you get. I mean, the Dreadnoughts are a bit versus IG, but it's up to you at that point really. You could get a Dreadnought out to just try and win in tier 2 by VPs, or you could go tier 3. But yeah, I'm talking a lot about this matchup. It is a matchup that I haven't actually got tremendous amounts of experience with. I mean, I have played this matchup quite a lot, but a lot of my experience with this matchup has been in patches before, where the Grey Knights were definitely nowhere near as effective, and the Grey Knight tier 1 was a lot harder to pull off versus IG. But yeah, it's more balanced now, and it's quite an interesting matchup, and I would be interested in playing a lot more of this matchup myself. But yeah, thanks for the replay, Crewfinity, and I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. Good night.